Thank you so much. And so, next speaker, we have Elizabeth Kipp, and Elizabeth will be presenting Uplevel Your Self-Care Principles and Practices. And her gift is 5 ways to relieve stress, anxiety, and fear, creating a toolkit for daily use. So, welcome, Elizabeth. So happy to have you today.
Thank you so much, Pamela. It's my honor to be here. My goodness, what great presentations. I'm just going to share my screen, if that's okay, so we can get
Yes.
started. Welcome to Uplevel Your Self-Care Principles and Practices. One moment, let me just set, there we go. I've got access now. Take a nice, long, slow, deep breath and let it out. Nice and slow. And just know this is a no stress zone. Allow yourself to process this information and don't worry about remembering it all. You can, pardon me, you can always watch the replay. I made this a rich, an information rich presentation on purpose to make sure that we met the standard of over delivering the best we could. And like everyone else here, here's what we'll look at today. 5 principles of self-care, healthy habits for self-soothing, breath, hydration, and sleep, how to leverage your neurobiology in your favor. We'll look at more practices to unlock your healing potential and making your self-care impeccable. Let's look at the 5 principles of self-care. First principle is the desire for healing. Before you heal someone, Hippocrates tells us, ask him or her if they're willing to give up the things that made them sick. Not everyone who's sick wants to heal. So this principle is centered around an honest assessment of whether we want to heal. Do you have a desire to heal? We have to do our inner work to build our capacity for resilience and widen our window of tolerance so that we can be present for whatever happens in life. Learn to regulate yourself, get sufficient exercise, eat well, and get quality rest. Cultivate joy and find balance. Second principle of self-care is taking responsibility. Buddha said that with our thoughts, we create the world. But what he didn't say, which is really the insight of modern psychology, is that before our thoughts and minds create the world creates our minds. And Gabor Mate tells us, we may not be responsible for the world that created our minds, but we can take responsibility for the mind with which we create our world. Self-care is about feeding the body, mind, and soul in a holistic approach. Since you can't separate mind, body from spirit, whatever you do to one affects all parts. Please keep this fundamental principle in mind as we go through this workshop on self-care. Third principle of self-care is commitment. Your commitment to your healing includes bringing your self-care to a new level. You'll be transformed by the shift from feeling victimized by your circumstances to being empowered through conscious, purposeful living. You may have intense physical sensations, but you can learn to carefully and consciously craft the meaning that you make of those sensations. In the end, it isn't the sensations that cause the suffering and distress, but the story and the meaning we make of them. Drop the label you use for your condition and simply feel it. Any meaning of it, if you give it one of all, is neutral. For example, I'm feeling tension and pressure in my head instead of I'm having another migraine headache. When you stay present, when you stay in the present moment and in neutral, you use 2 of the most important self-care tools you have, presence and non-judgment. When you use them, you're centered in the heart of the healing field. Let your self-care become a daily and even moment-to-moment practice of conscious choosing, patience, compassion, forgiveness, and full acceptance of yourself wherever you are. Become fiercely devoted and radically committed to your self-care as you find your way to discovering a thriving life. I just need a sip of water. Let's look at the fourth principle of self-care. Relationship, relationship, relationship. How we incorporate relationships into our world is paramount. It's hard to heal if you have difficulty with relationships. We need to recharge alone, but we're wired to connect. We can co-regulate in healthy relationship. We get the relief of feel-good hormones through healthy relationships. So, part of your self-care needs to be focused on healthy relationships in your life. How do you do that? Can you schedule time in your week, or even better, your day, for quality connection? Can you initiate talking circles in your community? Go to a recovery meeting. Attend social gatherings that help you cultivate and nurture your relationships. You may have to reframe some of your relationships. For example, ones that are codependent, as you work your way through that. Know that who you are and create connections with others where you feel safe, welcome, and even inspired. Shauna was just talking about that in the last presentation. So long as we feel a sense of separation, we need to seek better relationships. The fifth principle of self-care is the pause. So we can ground, regulate, and feel safe within ourselves. You can use the power of the pause to respond rather than react, and to turn into whatever you can to regulate your nervous system. Long, slow, deep breathing, for example. Now let's look at developing healthy habits for self-soothing. We have all kinds of habits. Most of the time, they run as unconscious programs in the background of our lives. We can take an action that brings us comfort, but if we're not paying attention, it can lead to self-destructive behavior. For example, when you're stressed, do you unconsciously seek food for comfort? I know I do. I'm especially drawn to carbohydrates, sugars, and fats. Chocolate was my guilty pleasure. The next thing you know, my food choices have gone awry, and I'm stressed in a whole new way. What began as self-soothing turns into self-destruction. We all have our little habits: smoking, alcohol, drugs, sex, food, gambling, playing the victim, negative thinking. Whatever your pattern is, shifting it to a new way of being in the world can bring up a lot of resistance, fear, and self-doubt. So be aware of the unhealthy habits you've developed for self-soothing, and work on making new healthy habits to replace them. Know your awareness. Know that your awareness and your focus on your attention are the tools for transformation that pattern into a healthier one. Now I teach whole 90-minute courses on the breath, but I'm just going to take a pause here and drop in and say, conscious breath work is a powerful and effective way to gain momentum in healing. We're born on an inhale. We die on an exhale. The quality of our life depends on the quality of our breath. Breath is the foundation of our healing. And we'll briefly touch on nutrition. Food is information for the body. What we feed the body has a direct effect on how we feel after we eat it, and on the body's ability to heal itself. Junk food is junk information, so it doesn't help us heal. Healthy food has healing properties and is of paramount importance if we're to heal. I see our food choices coming down to this simple question: is this food choice going to help me heal, or is it going to add to the junk load of information I'm trying to clear in the first place? The answer reflects our commitment to ourselves, to our healing. So I say eat whole foods that help decrease the stress response by reducing inflammation, boosting the immune system, and promoting healthy gut function. Avoid sugar. It just adds to inflammation. And if you have inflammation in the body, and most of us do, when you add sugar, it's like putting gasoline on the fire. And as you eat your meals, eat slowly, allowing time for the food to digest, and offer gratitude to everyone that made it possible for you to have it. And a brief stop on hydration. I cannot overestimate the importance of proper hydration. I learned something that surprised me. I was often hungry in between meals. I drank water to quell my hunger pangs and noticed that the food cravings were disappearing. I discovered I'd been confusing hunger with thirst. It seemed like a subtle difference, yet it was profound. I learned when I drank more water, I felt better, noticeably better. I started drinking water frequently during the day and learned to take a water bottle with me wherever I went. A rule of thumb for daily water intake is 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight. And a moment on sleep hygiene. When we don't get enough of sleep, the stress response gets out of balance. And when we're chronically sleep deprived, we experience chronic stress. This leads to inflammation and disease. I cannot say enough about how important high quality sleep is to good self-care. Do whatever you can to ensure the best sleep you can. Letting anyone or anything get in the way of a peaceful night's sleep as much as you can get sabotages your healing. So please take sleep seriously. We rejuvenate and we detoxify when we sleep. And when we don't get sleep, stress hormones stay at high levels. Over time, this can lead to inflammation in the body, which then, of course, leads to disease. Now, some of us stay up late, maybe having trouble going to bed around 10 o'clock. Yet in order to get 8 hours of sleep before the alarm goes off at 6, we have to prepare the body for sleep the night before. This includes quitting all computer and phone screens an hour or two before bedtime, as well as TV time. Turn your phone or tablet notifications off so you're not disturbed by them at night. And be mindful of what you're exposing yourself to before you go to bed so that you're calm. Like, I don't watch the news before I go to bed. I try not to watch too much of the news anyway, because it's too upsetting. Yeah. But yeah, so definitely not before I go to bed. Finally, reduce stimulants in your diet, such as coffee, tea with caffeine in it, or chocolate. I didn't say eliminate, I said reduce. Even though it may seem like you can get more done by staying awake longer and reducing your sleep time, your efficiency the next day can be reduced by 32%. That's science. I was surprised to read that. You'd be better off putting off the work until the next day and getting a full night's sleep. And here's a whole section on how to leverage your biology in your favor. These are ways to increase our feel-good neurochemicals. Our reaction to these chemicals is completely predictable. Please remember that as I go through the rest of this talk, this section. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that's produced in the brain. It's needed for energy, focus, and motivation. It's related to the pleasure pattern, habit consolidation, desires, and goal seeking. Pleasure and pain are wired together in the body's homeostasis, moving towards balance. After a high dopamine hit of a drug or a substance, say like sugar, A craving response follows. This is the cycle of addiction, wanting the dopamine to relieve the craving of it. That's amazing to me, right? So let's look at the effects of having reduced dopamine in the body. Procrastination, low self-esteem, lack of motivation, low energy, the inability to focus, even feeling anxious, kind of the opposite of feeling low energy. You can also feel anxious, you can feel hopeless, and you have these mood swings. Here are some strategies to increase dopamine. Get enough sleep, listen to some music, eat well, exercise, meditate, spend time in the sun, avoid over-processed foods, and manage stress. Remember I said our reaction to these neurochemicals are predictable. So these things actually work, right? Overall, a balanced diet and lifestyle can go a long way to increasing your body's natural production of dopamine and helping your brain function at its best. Serotonin is created in the gut and gives us a feeling of being satiated. It helps us, it enables attachment, nursing, and promotes stability in our relationships. When we have reduced serotonin in the body, we have low self-esteem, insomnia, anxiety, even panic attacks, feeling helpless or hopeless, obsessions and compulsions, being overly sensitive, and emotionally reactive. Ways to increase serotonin: aerobic exercise, walking, running, biking, swimming, significantly increases serotonin production in the body. You need about 30 minutes to get the serotonin, quote unquote, high. Other exercises like yoga, Pilates, and weightlifting increase serotonin, just not as much. So we want to exercise. We can also spend time in nature. We get good nutrition, meditation, gratitude increases serotonin. There are essential oils that promote that. We also we have some goal achievement happening, and it also, our happy memories will produce higher serotonin. Let's look at endorphins. These are the hormones that are released in the body when your body feels pain or stress. They're produced in the brain and acts as messengers in the body. They reduce stress and they help us improve our mood. Now, endorphins are named after this substance, what they produce, which is euphoria. They also reduce loneliness and isolation and increase cooperation. When we have low endorphins in the body, we have anxiety, depression. We can experience more intense aches and pains. We have mood swings. We can have insomnia. Our behavior can become impulsive, and we can have increased inflammation. Endorphins can be boosted by acupuncture, meditation, certain essential oils, such as lavender, also rosemary, citrus fragrances like orange, grapefruit, or bergamot, ylang ylang, which is one of my favorites, and even
Mine too.
frankincense.
I love you, Lang Lang.
It's like the best ever, right?
Yes.
Um, Also, sex, laughter, exposure to the sun, kindness, massage, and a hot bath. Oxytocin is a chemical message. I'm just checking the time. Good on time. Oxytocin acts as a chemical messenger in the brain and has an important role in many behaviors, including sexual arousal, recognition, trust, romantic attachment, and mother-infant bonding. It's a natural hormone that stimulates uterine contractions in childbirth and lactation after childbirth. And as a result, oxytocin has been called the love hormone or the cuddle chemical. The effects of low oxytocin are feeling lonely, which is actually seen as a threat in the nervous system, feeling stressed, feeling alienated, lack of motivation, disconnection from relationships or isolation, feeling anxious, and insomnia. Ways to boost oxytocin release are touch, giving someone a massage, cuddling, making love, Giving someone a hug, you want that hug to last like 30 to 60 seconds. Hang in there with that hug and you'll really, it's a big deal for both of you, right? Yoga, you can listen to music or make your own. Spend time with friends. Again, meditate, cook, and eat with someone you care about. Connect with a pet. All of these lead to higher levels of this hormone and a greater sense of well-being. We can get addicted to stress hormones. It's up to each of us to make the choice to cultivate healthy hormones and keep our stress hormones as balanced as possible. Meditate, clean up your diet, especially from caffeine, alcohol, and sugar. These are ways you could heal from being addicted to stress hormones. Notice and note that it can take up to 48 hours to metabolize the hormones that are present when we get dysregulated and stressed. Rewire, so allow yourself, you might feel like it's an emotional hangover. Allow yourself, drink plenty of water, allow yourself to process that stuff. It's normal and natural. Just have lots of compassion for yourself as you go through it. You can rewire yourself out of past behaviors by realizing that you're safe in the present moment. And during dysregulation, co-regulating with someone can help calm you down. And also remember, apologies are there if appropriate. All right, we're going to end up here, just a few minutes here on practices to unlock your healing potential. Become the witness to and observer of your experience. Decide where are you going to put your attention. Radically change your diet to one as healthy as possible. Take control of your health. Follow your intuition. Release suppressed emotions and increase positive emotions. Embrace social support. We heal in sacred, safe communities. Deepen your spiritual connection. Make choices that make your life balanced. Practice saying no to others and saying yes to yourself. Laugh more. Laughter increases the neurotransmitter dopamine, which is used for energy, needed for energy, focus, and motivation. Play more. It's really good for brain growth and healing. Hugs increase oxytocin production. So hug more. Be mindful of your diet. Your diet is not only what you eat, it's what you listen to, what you read, and the people you hang around. Be mindful of what you put into your body physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And finally, meditation helps calm the mind it's an important daily tool for healing. It also provides the nervous system with a 5 times deeper rest than sleep. Finally, make your practice of self-care impeccable. This business of self-care, I can't stress it enough. You can get in the habit of believing that self-care is not worth the effort to change your old ways and develop new, healthier ways of living. But you must believe in yourself, and you must guard this belief beyond all doubt. You must believe in your body's miraculous ability to heal, and you must guard this belief beyond all doubt. Develop a fierce commitment to yourself. Curry ways to gentle how you meet and move in the world. Pushing through the world is no longer an option. You now have the tools to help calm yourself and find peace in whatever storm life brings. It's up to you to pick up the tools and use them. Make your practice of self-care impeccable. Be meticulous in designing the rituals of your life that ensure the highest quality care you can give yourself. Speak to yourself as if you were speaking to your best friend and to your child, because you're speaking to both. Come to terms with your doubts and fears and realize that they're there for a reason. Do what you can to tame negative thinking. Every moment of this self-care work is sacred. Please stick with it. Give yourself, all parts of yourself, unconditional love, no matter what. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Elizabeth. I love where you said your diet is not only what we eat, it's what we hear, what we see. Yeah. It incorporates everything that we do. Thank you so much. We have a couple minutes. Anyone have any questions for Elizabeth? I'm going to ask Elizabeth this question. We had it yesterday when a couple of speakers talked about meditation. For someone who's new to meditation and they're looking possibly on YouTube for something like what can they how can they kind of get started with meditation?
Well, I don't actually know anybody on YouTube right off the bat that would teach from the beginning. Um, there's many kinds of meditation. The thing about meditation is we're wanting to have an experience where we're watching the mind, we're not caught up in it. So we're having thoughts, but we're watching the thoughts move through our experience. We're not getting caught up with them. Now, I'm sitting, breathing, maybe a breath meditation. I'm just following the breath, and the mind comes in and has a thought, and whoop, my attention gets pulled away, and off I am, off after chasing that thought. And I get into and I'm, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be meditating, and I come back right to the breath. So it doesn't matter how many times you get lost in the thought, it matters how many times you come back. That's the practice.
Mm,
And so the beauty is I'm not actually engaged in all of those thoughts. I have a little bit of respite there where I'm just watching them. And that's it in a nutshell. I mean, I teach meditation, but that, and there are many kinds, but that's it in a nutshell. And I would love everybody to be very patient with themselves as they go through this. The mind can be very turbulent. Some meditations I can sit and focus, and I'm good, and I stay there, and I hardly I hardly get, you know, the mind hardly steals me away at all. And other times there's so much turbulence, I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? That judgment there, not needed. We're just noticing that there's a lot of turbulence, and we're just allowing all of it.
nice. Thank you so much. That's great. Because I know some people, will say, well, I've tried meditation, it just doesn't work because it's the thoughts. I've just had too many intrusive thoughts. Thank you so much for sharing that.